Hola y buenos días. Yo soy el señor Morris, el maestro de español. ¿Cómo están ustedes? Today we'll have a number dictation activity, and then we'll look at another Spanish-speaking country. The country that we're going to be looking at today is located just to the south of the United States. It's the country that most of you who've been to a Spanish-speaking country have probably been to. Can anyone guess what country it is? But as always, let's get started by singing our greeting song. Ahora, canten conmigo. Hola, hola, buenos días, bienvenidos, ¿cómo están? Todos juntos ya estamos listos para aprender. Muy bien cantado. Now, as I said, we'll start today's lesson with a number dictation activity. So get your paper and pencil or pen out while we review the numbers again with this video. And try to say all of the numbers along with the video. Ahora, presten atención y repitan todos. Números. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 1000. Muy bien. Ahora saquen papel y lápiz o pluma para escribir estos números. Today we're going to write números. So pay attention and see if you can write down el número 7. We're starting pretty easy. 7. Did you write down this number? 7. Yeah, there it is. Okay, very good. Well, let's try a harder one, a little bit harder. El número 13. 13. Now you can probably hear the tres, but it has that se ending on it. 13. Did you figure that out? Did you write down el 13? 13. Well, let's try another one then. How about 86? 86. You can hear there's two parts to that. 86. So did you write down this number? 86. 86. Let's try a bigger one then. Ready? Now listen carefully. 249. It's a longer one, huh? Listen to the different parts. 249. Did you get these? 249. Did you get that? Yeah, that's kind of a longer one. How about this number then? 500. 500. Okay, that's one of the irregular ones that I talked about. Did you write down this number? 500. Now you could tell it was 100 because it ended with entos, right? 500. One more, and this one you should all be able to get. 1000. 1000. Okay, did you write down this number? 1000. There you go, 1000. Okay. Well, you guys can continue to review the numbers doing dictation activities in your classes like we do here. Or if you want to, you can reverse the game and have someone show you the written number and you try to name it yourself. Now, that might be a bit harder for you, so don't try that game until you're ready. Today, we're going to look at another country where they speak Spanish. Does anyone remember how to say country in Spanish? Do you remember that? País. País. Well, this is the country that is to the south of the United States of America. Does anyone know what that country is? Raise your hand, tell your teacher. Did you say Mexico? Mexico. Now, we pronounce it Mexico, but the people who live there call it Mexico. Now, notice that the accent is on the first E, and that tells us that we stress that syllable. And the X sounds kind of like an H, so you pronounce it Mexico. Mexico. Now, the official name of Mexico is Los Estados Unidos Mexicanos, which means the United Mexican States. And that's why a lot of times I say the United States of America to make sure that I don't get my United States confused with Mexico and America. Now, Mexico has 31 states and a federal district, which is like the District of Columbia here in the United States, where Washington is located, Washington, D.C. Mexico is the country that has the most Spanish-speaking people in the world. The capital city is called Mexico DF, like we call Washington, D.C. But in English, we call it Mexico City, to distinguish it from the country of Mexico. The name Mexico comes from the name of a tribe of Native Americans who lived in that part of the world there called the Mexica. And the legend goes that the people were living in the deserts in the northern part of the country when a dream came to one of them that told them to go in search of a new homeland. The vision told them that they would establish their new place to live, where they found an eagle perched on a cactus eating a snake. Well, they wandered for years until one day they came to a lake. And on a small island in the center of the lake, they saw an eagle on a cactus eating a snake. So they started building Tenochtitlan, which would become Mexico City on this island in the lake. The island started off kind of small, but they brought dirt from the shore and dumped it out to make the island larger and larger. Well, the city didn't have streets as much as it had canals or little waterways that people would use to get around and to move their things around. It was a beautiful city. Mexico City was built on the site of Tenochtitlan on the lake, and some of the buildings in Mexico City are sinking into the muddy soil of the lake even today. Some of the floating gardens still exist in Mexico City, although most of the lake has been filled in. The people living in the country before the first Spaniards arrived spoke a bunch of different languages, but none of them were Spanish. The language came with the Spaniards who arrived in the 1500s. These Spaniards were called conquistadores, or conquerors. They came to conquer the New World. And with their conquest came the Spanish language. The story of how the Spaniards arrived and conquered the Aztecs is fascinating. If you have time, you may want to look in some resources such as encyclopedias or in the library or on the computer, or even some old National Geographics have some really good information. I think you'll find it really cool. Right now, I'd like to show you an interview that we had with a Mexican citizen who came to our classroom to speak with us. His name is Roberto Arenivar, and he's in 6th grade. So he told us some things that I think you might find interesting. So, presten atención todos. Roberto, you have a unique perspective in that you went to school in Mexico and you also have gone to school now here in the United States. What are some things that are different and some things that are the same about the two schools?
Here they take special classes like art, music, computer.
And you didn't take those
No.
in Mexico? Well, what classes did you study in Mexico?
We studied math, science, language, spelling, reading.
So many of the same classes
Yeah.
that you study here.
Yes.
Now, did you take physical education in Mexico?
Yes.
And what types of sports did you play when you were in Mexico?
We played basketball, volleyball, sometimes soccer.
Soccer. Okay. Well, good. So many of the same sports that we do here. So
Yes.
a lot of things are the same, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, during this unit, we're talking about family relationships. And how many people are in your immediate family?
5.
There are 5 of you in your immediate family. And now, we've said that sometimes the families are quite large. How many uncles and aunts do you have?
I have 14 uncles and aunts.
14 uncles and aunts. So you must have a lot of cousins, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. That's great. Now, let me see, Roberto. What is your favorite food to eat?
Tamales.
Tamales, do you like the sweet tamales or the red pork tamales? Or
Both.
any kind of tamales?
Yeah.
Huh? Well, do you ever make the tamales?
No.
Who makes the tamales in your family?
My grandma,
Your grandma. And how do you say grandma in Spanish?
abuelita.
Ah, your abuelita makes them. Well, that's great. Now, I appreciate your taking the time to come in. I know that you have classes and all. How long have you been here in the United States?
I've been 2 years and a half.
About 2.5
Yeah.
years. And I knew that because Roberto has been with us before. He's a real good guy. In 2.5 years, your English is getting very good. You speak very good English now.
Thank you.
Was it difficult for you to learn English?
Yes and no, because I had never handled a conversation with some other person, and some words I knew of classes I had taken.
So you took English classes.
Yes.
Did you take those in school?
No.
Did you have a private tutor for those?
Yeah.
Yeah, a special class that you took in English. Well, that's great. Well, I tell you what, Roberto, if there's one thing that you could say to the students about Spanish or about Mexico or anything, would you like to say something? Go ahead and just look right over at the students over there, and you go ahead and tell them something.
Keep on studying Spanish so that one day you can go to Mexico.
Hey, that's great. I hope that all of the students can learn to speak Spanish as well as you've learned to speak English, Roberto. Gracias. Thank you very much for being with us. We
Thank
appreciate it. Muy bien. Thanks a lot to Roberto for helping us out there. Now, did you hear what he called his grandmother? Abuelita. Remember we said abuela is grandmother, and he said abuelita. Well, whenever you add that ending, ito for a man or ita for a woman, it means a little one. So my name is Roberto, and his name is Roberto. So in order to tell us apart, they might call me Roberto, and they might call him Robertito. It means little something. So when he called his grandmother abuelita, it means like little grandmother. And that's kind of an endearing term. Okay? You might hear that on some other words. Muy bien. Ahora saquen la hoja de actividades llamada Mapa y Bandera de México. And this one's kind of similar to the one that we did last time. Go ahead and remember to put your name on your work, because you should always be proud of the work you do. Roberto. Now use a resource book to find the mountains and oceans of Mexico. Color the mountains brown and the oceans blue. Color the flag of Mexico. Aquí está la bandera. Color the flag of Mexico using a resource book to find the correct colors. Well, let's start up here. I'd like to help you out with something. Remember, we said that Mexico is just south of the United States of America. Well, right down here is where the Rocky Mountains come, and they continue to extend into this part of Mexico. So you're going to find in your resource books that there are some mountains coming down into this part of Mexico. You'll want to color those areas brown to indicate that there are mountains along there. And then you'll want to color the water blue. Well, out here it says Océano Pacífico. That's pretty much a cognate. I bet you can figure out what that means. That means there's an ocean out here. So you're going to want to color that part blue. And then after you've colored in the mountains and the oceans, you can color the rest of the land in Mexico green. Now down at the bottom is the flag of Mexico. Es la bandera. And if we look in the center of the flag, do you see the symbol there? The eagle perched on the cactus with a snake in its mouth. And do you remember the legend that talked about the Mexica Indians and how they traveled around until they found that symbol or that actual thing, and that's where they built their capital city. Today, we reviewed our numbers and did a number dictation activity. We learned a little bit about Mexico and got to visit with a person from Mexico. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Mexico, I'd certainly encourage you to look for more information on the country and the people in books, in videos, and even on the internet. Pero saben que ya es hora de despedirnos. For our goodbye song today, let's sing a song that is sung for people when they have a birthday. Now, the custom goes that people go to the house of the birthday person and sing this song outside the bedroom window the first thing in the morning to wake them up. It's called Las Mañanitas, which means early in the morning, and it goes like this. Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba Rey David, pero no eran tan bonitas como las cantan aquí. Despierta, mi bien, despierta, mira que ya amaneció. Ya los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió. Muy bien. Well, I hope you have a happy birthday whenever it is. And until our next class, adiós y hasta luego. Estas son las